Hello, everybody. It is live on KEXP, and I'm your host, Troy Nelson, from listener-powered, independent 90.3 FM KEXP in Seattle and 92.7 in San Francisco. And we are streaming 24/7 at kexp.org and our free mobile apps. And these live performances are made possible by people like you. So thank you so much for supporting KEXP. I am very excited because I am in the KEXP live room with a longtime friend of KEXP, one of our favorites, Pedro the Lion. And if you're all ready, take it away.
1, 2. The first day of 8th grade, the stupidest backpack, regretted it as soon as I stepped out of the car. A neon green acid wash to last me the whole year. I loved it in Phoenix at the mall with my grandma, so I'll never be cool here. It's under the surface, skaters and surfers. I crave an identity that I can't buy at Mervyn's. Escape to my headphones, the Christian rock worship, starting to pale to what I was immersed in. Magnetic vibration that one with the weather and the cold wave. A sea and a mountain in their eroding embrace. Forever alone in my room with a haunted religion. Wormwood and screw tape and no witch's invitation. Tongues talking spirit and kneeling to listen. A novel about demons that Christians weren't missing. As kids we were taught by the blood they can't kill you, but in this book they do, and I need to know what's true. We live by the Bible, call it. Dad had a job after school. I would ride my bike to the spot, play ping pong with freshmen, just hit it all back on the tap. They'll make mistakes and start questioning everything. My folks went to school here when they were just 20. Started their romance, waited till marriage. A shining example of what was expected. Allowed to have sex with, can't wait till I get there. Magnetic vibrations that one with the weather and the cold wave. A sea and a mountain in their eroding embrace. Forever. Riding in a moving truck again. Northern California dusk is barely hanging in. They need a music pastor at a church in paradise. Here we come, guys. Keeping my eyes wide open for the long shadows, the tall pines. Now what's a winning 12th grade girl want with the freshmen? We took our shirts off in my bedroom, friends kissing. Both lying to our parents. Keeping my eyes like it here anyway. Sunday church, friends in the pews. What am I gonna do? Follow in my father's footsteps. Or maybe music work I have been dreamt of. Yeah, I hope it's drum set. Keeping my eyes wide open for the long shadows, a tall pine that waited till school let out to confront his boss for doing wrong. Now it's time to move again. Modesto, it isn't boring like you thought it would be. Modesto, it's not baloney like you thought it would be. Modesto, it isn't lonely like you thought it would be. At first I worked a vacuum cleaner salesman job. For men I later recognized in Glengarry, Glen Ross. I only sold one, she couldn't afford it. She wrote out the check and burst out sobbing. Afterwards I hung out with my new church friends and traded stories. We decided I should quit, and then we laughed and carried on till morning. The next day I got a part-time job at the local guitar store. Modesto, it isn't boring like you thought it would be. Modesto, it's not baloney like you thought it would be. Modesto, it isn't lonely like you thought it would be. I heard the perfect song at work today. Having asked if there were bands to see and spots to play, Jim said, hell yeah, and then he handed me a tape. What I heard in my Walkman headphones, pacing by the speakers and PAs, was a beautiful, hilarious, tragic mess that sent tears streaming down my face. Grabbed me by the lapel, stood me up, put a 4-track in my hand and told me so. the cousins, I love it. Christmas dinner when they asked me what I was up to. If I had courage left, instead I told them I was teaching drum set. I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let myself let it in. I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let myself spend time with the energy, spend time with the energy, spend time with the enemy. And my mother, she pulled me aside, looked me in the eye, said, why you saying that? You're really doing the best. Don't be ashamed of it. Back in my room, drumming with Paul. He can rip it up like an animal, but when it was my turn, I couldn't let go or get out of my head or into the floor. I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let myself let it in. I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let it, I couldn't let myself spend time with the energy, spend time with the energy, spend time with the enemy.
Fantastic. Live on KEXP. Welcome back to the KEXP studios, Pedro the Lion.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. The new album is called Santa Cruz, and it's been 2 years since your previous album, Havasu, and also it's been almost 7 years since you and I have sat down face to face in this very room, and it's been 20 years since the release of Achilles' Heel, which was my introduction to your music. It's been 27 years since the release of the whole EP on Tooth and Nail,
shit.
way back in 1997, and almost 30 years since you played in a band called The Guilty with Damian Jurado in 1995, and here you are, still looking fantastic and sounding fantastic and as fresh as ever, so thank you once again for doing
Yeah,
this.
thanks.
Absolutely. So I've been curious about a couple of things. I know we've gotten to talk to each other before, but I have a few more questions for you. And going all the way back to your youth and your discovery of music. And let me set the scene for you. You're in your parents' car down in Capitola in Santa Cruz, down by Pleasure Point, listening to worship music like Petra Praise.
Indeed.
Yeah, I had a Petra shirt for a long time. I went looking for it the other day because I have a feeling it's probably worth some dough. Yeah, and so I love the name of the Petra Praise album too. It's called The Rock Cries Out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily resonating with you. And a few weeks later, you go to your friend Matt's house to spend the night, and his dad has all these records. And that's when you discovered the Beatles' White Album. And also and I remember this same movie. It was like a movie that, what was it called? It was called God and Rock and Roll, where they try to tell you how satanic and evil all this rock and roll music is. I remember that completely. And you, in your mind, thought that bands like Twisted Sister and Black Sabbath and Queen were all kind of roughly the same type of band. And you finally listened to the Beatles' White Album, and you had somewhat of a revelation. It was almost like hilarious hearing this because it was not that evil. In fact, it was very fun. So what was that revelation when you discovered that album?
You know, I think it was, you have these preconceived notions in your head about what it is, and then you find out what it really is, and it's so much more nuanced than what it was described to be. And so just hearing those nuances, the first song I heard was Birthday, and it was like, these guys are joking, but it's not a joke. Like, I couldn't tell what their perspective was, but it was so funny, and then, alternately sad, and then poignant, and it went so many places right away, and I just felt like that feeling when you find something that you relate to in a world that you feel like there isn't very much that you that feels like it's for you. You know, it felt like it was for me for the first time, and it was very cool feeling.
Yeah, I remember that movie, and they were saying like all these backward messages, and there was all this evil music. And then I listened to the music, and I'm like, this doesn't feel very evil. And especially the music they were talking about then, if you listen to it now, it's almost comical. You moved to Seattle at the absolute perfect time in 1991. And your first day of school in 10th grade, the girl sitting next to you writes on your notebook, Nirvana. And then some other girl comes up to you and puts headphones on you and presses play, and it's the first time you hear Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yep.
I'm so curious what your life was like moving in here in 1991 at the height of Nevermind and Nirvana. Where was your musical mind at that time?
I mean, I was still, like, I had discovered the Beatles, but then I kind of had to put them away. The ban on quote-unquote secular music was still on. And so when I heard, you know, the first thing is it just felt like there was a lot of energy around music. Like, the first person I talked to in homeroom was asking me about rock and roll. And then I met Damien that day at the end of the school day, both of us late to our last period, and like kind of like a movie, like we crossed in the hallway, then we turned back around, and it was this whole thing. And so my experience was like, oh my gosh, there's so much energy around music here, even though my access to it was the same as anybody in the country, you know, MTV or whatever, like the radio, with the teen dance ordinance and everything. I guess they probably played OK Hotel, but I wasn't allowed to do any of that at that point. But and talking about Nirvana, but yeah, it really fueled my desire to listen to all of the music, because I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it felt like, cool, I'm glad to know that exists, but I'm not allowed to absorb myself in it the way that I want to. And so a couple months later, I talked my dad into I think it was through Columbia House. I was like, can I get this Columbia House thing? I'll sign up for the jazz so that it's not like bad. But then I got, you know, a bunch of other records.
Yeah.
And then I was off and running. So it really was, Seattle is where I discovered the rest of, you know, I was able to, a couple months into school, started listening to The End all the time, every day. And so I was hearing music I had not heard.
Yep.
And yeah, it was incredible.
Awesome. And after a few years of working on other projects, including your solo albums, in 2018, then you announced that you were rekindling the Pedro the Lion name and planning to release a 5-album series with each installment reflecting on a place that you have lived, starting with Phoenix in 2019, and then Havasu. Is it Havasu or Havasu?
Either way, but yeah, I say Havasu.
Havasu in 2022, and that's an album that looks back on your early teen years. And here we are with Santa Cruz in 2024. So does this mean you have 2 more albums with this running theme? And how many places have you lived?
The first answer is yes, there are 2 more. And it's that's about it. Once I got to Seattle and then Modesto and then back to Seattle, I've stayed put, except for touring constantly. And then, yeah, there will be 2 more, and they cover certain spans of years, each of them.
Cool. Yeah, I love this concept. And also the song Modesto, which you played here for all of us. And I love that song so much, but the music video is fantastic.
Oh, well,
and when I was first watching it, before you had even gotten to the lyric, I remember thinking, I feel some Granddaddy vibes going on in this song. And I had never thought that before, ever listening to any Pedro the Lion music. And then it shows in the music video you grabbing a Granddaddy cassette, putting it in your Walkman, and hearing Granddaddy for the first time. And I just resonate with this so much because they are a band that has meant a lot to me, too. I first discovered them when they were the opening band for Elliott Smith back in like 2000, and I had never heard of them before. So my introduction was the Software Slump album, and I was absolutely blown away, and then I became a huge fan. And so I'm just curious what Granddaddy means to you and why you brought them up in this song.
It was a similar experience to hearing the Beatles for the first time. It was like I've heard Tom Petty say that everybody wanted to be a singer back when he was a kid, but no one knew how to get a 40-piece orchestra together. And then when they saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, it was like, oh, you just need like 3 other buddies, and then you can do this. And for me, it was that, but with like DIY 4-track kind of music. Like I knew kind of what I wanted to do or what I had in my head, but hearing Lytle do it, just the tone, the mix of lyrical tone, the absurd and the comical and the kind of tragic and the left out kind of character that's kind of present in all of his records. It was really cool to hear somebody singing from that perspective, but also I think it gave me permission to just not to sound like Granddaddy, but to try to learn what it meant to sound like myself.
Right.
Because it really sounded like this is a person's personality on a 4-track with this music, and it was so nuanced in that way. It made me want to find my own,
Yeah, I love that. I felt the same way. He's also a great lyricist,
geez.
talking about how like tire scraps on the side of the road look
So
like
good.
crash-landed crows. It's just, his imagery is amazing.
Yeah. It's
And
really good.
is that also the arpeggiator keyboard at the end of that
yeah.
song? Is that the nod to?
Yeah.
I
I was
love
trying to. It's a funny. I mean, I was scared to. I came home from a show in Seattle, and it was a great show. It was Angel Olsen at the Neptune like last October, and it was one of those shows. I come home and it's so inspiring. I just want to play music for 2 hours, and so I worked on that song and came up with a bunch of stuff. But I was in that zone where I was just playing, and the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. I can't. This is too corny. It's too like professing love for a band that and is like a I don't know. It just felt like it was too much. But then I just looked back and was like, man, you felt this for 2 hours in the height of you being in a really good mood and like all this stuff. And so I just was like, I think I have to honor that. And so then the rest of it is just trying to find the line of like how much homage do I pay here? But yeah,
I'd say perfect amount.
Deep respect.
Yes. I feel the exact same way. You've reached so many heights with Pedro the Lion, and I just love that you're continuing this. And also, you are so honest in your lyrics, and you are a fantastic storyteller, and you just say it as it is, what happened to you in your life, and I know that resonates with lots of people, hence why Pedro the Lion is still going all these years later. So we appreciate the decades of music and look forward to more.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, all of you. Fantastic band, and we appreciate your time. And once again, you have been listening to Pedro the Lion right here, live on KEXP.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.